The Galactic Research Consortium's first comprehensive study of human behavioral patterns began with what our Xenosociological division initially classified as a routine social gathering. Subject designation: Phin Omega-12, a male human specimen approximately 28 standard cycles in age, had assembled with 14 other members of his species in what appeared to be a recreational facility on the frontier settlement of Kepler 404-2b. The environment featured multiple circular tables, ambient lighting conducive to extended social interaction, and various consumption apparatus for fermented grain beverages. Our surveillance protocols had been in effect for 37 days when the incident occurred that would fundamentally alter our understanding of human psychological architecture. The subjects had been engaging in what we initially interpreted as standard pack bonding behavior, consuming ethanol-based liquids while participating in competitive verbal exchanges. Dr. Quextel's preliminary observations suggested these gatherings served as hierarchy establishment rituals common to most sentient species. The critical moment transpired when subject Phin Omega-12 elevated his vocal projection above ambient conversation levels and declared to the assembled group, "You think you're tough? I've got 847 confirmed kills under my belt." The immediate response from his companions was not the expected submission or challenge display we observe in similar declarations among other species. Instead, the group exhibited what can only be described as heightened attention mixed with what our behavioral analysts interpreted as anticipatory excitement. Subject designate Delora 77, a female human of approximately 26 standard cycles, produced from her personal carrying apparatus a folded documentation device. Our enhancement protocols revealed this to be a multi-page document containing dense textual information organized in columnar format. The precision of her response suggested premeditation rather than spontaneous reaction. She placed this document before subject Phin Omega-12 and issued the command that would reshape our understanding of human social dynamics. Start reading. The transformation in subject Phin's demeanor was immediate and profound. What had moments before been confident posturing shifted to what our emotional recognition software classified as acute psychological distress. His biometric readings, monitored through passive scanning, indicated elevated stress hormones and increased cardiovascular activity. Most significantly, he began to comply with the female's directive without question or negotiation, suggesting a previously undetected power dynamic within human social structures. Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell, beheaded by King's Landing executioner, subject Phin began, his voice taking on a ritualistic cadence that immediately attracted the attention of our xenolinguistic analysis team. Catelyn Stark, Lady of Winterfell, throat cut at the Red Wedding. Robb Stark, King in the North, stabbed through the heart at the Red Wedding. The recitation continued with methodical precision, each entry containing specific details about the deceased individual's status, location of termination, and method of elimination. Commander Uerthger of our Military Intelligence Division flagged this exchange for immediate priority analysis. The systematic nature of the recitation, combined with the detailed knowledge of termination methods and locations, suggested a level of organizational sophistication that contradicted our previous assessments of human capabilities. More troubling was the apparent memorization of this extensive database, indicating either enhanced cognitive capacity or intensive training protocols we had not previously detected. The other humans present during this recitation displayed behavioral patterns that further complicated our analysis. Rather than expressing horror or moral outrage at the detailed accounting of eliminations, they exhibited what our emotional recognition protocols identified as amusement and approval. Several subjects nodded appreciatively during particularly detailed descriptions, while others vocalized encouraging sounds that suggested social bonding through shared appreciation of the enumerated terminations. Tywin Lannister, Hand of the King, crossbow bolts to the torso while seated on privy, subject Phin continued, his voice gaining confidence as he progressed through the list. Joffrey Baratheon, King of the Seven Kingdoms, poisoned at his own wedding feast. The specificity of locations and circumstances suggested either direct participation in these eliminations or access to detailed intelligence reports from the termination sites. Professor Ifwin's Cultural Anthropology department raised immediate concerns about the apparent ritualistic nature of this exchange. The female human's role as keeper and presenter of the termination records suggested a possible priest-warrior dynamic within human social structures. The male's obligation to demonstrate knowledge of the contents implied either religious significance or military ranking system based on elimination prowess and record-keeping accuracy. The document itself presented additional analytical challenges. Our long-range scanning revealed multiple pages of similar entries, organized with systematic precision that suggested institutional backing rather than individual record-keeping. Cross-referencing with intercepted human communications indicated widespread familiarity with the names and circumstances described, implying either galactic-scale coordination or shared cultural memory of significant elimination campaigns. Scholar Uthmas from the Religious Studies Council proposed an alternative interpretation during emergency consultation protocols. The reverent attention paid by other humans during the recitation, combined with the formal structure of the enumeration, suggested possible ancestor worship or memorial practices. However, this theory was challenged by the apparent satisfaction expressed by the assembled humans when Subject Finn demonstrated accurate knowledge of termination details. The session continued for approximately 18 standard minutes, during which Subject Finn successfully recited details for over 60 distinct eliminations. The range of methods described was particularly noteworthy. Oberyn Martell, Prince of Dawn, head crushed by armored combatant during trial by combat. Ned Umber, Lord of Last Hearth, pinned to wall and immolated by undead dragonfire. The variety suggested either extensive personal experience across multiple combat environments or access to comprehensive intelligence networks documenting eliminations across known space. Director Gex Lopp of the Galactic Research Consortium authorized immediate expansion of monitoring protocols following preliminary analysis of this exchange. The implications for galactic security were staggering. If humans maintained detailed records of eliminations and required memorization of these records as social prerequisites, it suggested a level of systematic approach to violence that exceeded our most pessimistic projections. The conclusion of the recitation ceremony presented additional behavioral anomalies. Rather than expressing exhaustion or emotional distress after recounting dozens of detailed eliminations, Subject Finn appeared energized and satisfied. The female human, Subject Delora 77, expressed approval through what our translation protocols identified as praise. Not bad, though you missed about half the important ones. This suggested the document contained significantly more entries than those recited, implying an even more extensive termination database. The social gathering continued for another 2 hours following this exchange, during which multiple other humans referenced various entries from similar documentation they carried. Phrases such as, "that one was brutal," and "I saw that coming from Season 3" were recorded, suggesting these elimination records were organized in temporal sequences and that humans engaged in predictive analysis of future terminations based on pattern recognition from historical data. Our preliminary assessment of this incident raised fundamental questions about human cognitive architecture and social organization. The memorization of extensive termination records, combined with the systematic organization and social approval of such knowledge, suggested military or intelligence training protocols integrated into civilian social structures. The female's role as record keeper and examiner implied hierarchical systems based on elimination documentation and accuracy. Analyst Wupfer's statistical evaluation team calculated that if Subject Finn's claimed personal elimination count of 847 represented typical achievement levels for human males of his age demographic, the species' total termination capacity would exceed the combined military capabilities of the 17 most advanced civilizations in known space. This projection assumed conservative population estimates and standard distribution curves for combat engagement among human civilians. The immediate recommendation from our research consortium was elevation to Priority 1 status for all human observation protocols. The systematic nature of their elimination record-keeping, combined with the social integration of such practices into civilian recreational activities, suggested a species-wide militarization that posed unprecedented threats to galactic stability. General Kneth's Defense Protocol Command issued immediate alerts to border systems with known human populations, recommending enhanced surveillance of any humans observed carrying documentation or engaging in recitation activities. The possibility that entire human social structures were organized around termination achievement and record-keeping accuracy required fundamental reassessment of diplomatic and trade relationships with human settlements. Our xeno-sociological analysis concluded that humans had developed what appeared to be the most sophisticated systematic approach to elimination documentation in known galactic history. The integration of such practices into social bonding activities suggested cultural normalization of violence at levels that challenged our understanding of civilized behavior. The female's apparent authority over the male's recitation implied gender-based specialization in military record-keeping that could indicate advanced strategic planning capabilities. The incident, designated as Contact Event 2891, represented our first direct observation of human kill list culture in its natural social environment. The implications for galactic security, diplomatic relations, and species survival projections required immediate escalation to the highest levels of the Galactic Research Consortium. Subject Delora 77's casual production of comprehensive termination records from personal carrying apparatus suggested individual humans maintained instant access to extensive elimination databases as standard equipment. The systematic nature of human elimination record-keeping, demonstrated through this single social interaction, indicated organizational capabilities that exceeded our previous estimates of their species' strategic sophistication. The reverent attention paid by assembled humans to accurate recitation of termination details suggested cultural values prioritizing violence, documentation over traditional civilized pursuits. Our research consortium's preliminary conclusion was unambiguous. Humans represented the most systematically organized elimination-focused species yet encountered in known galactic space. The Emergency Academic Conference, convened 72 hours after Contact Event 2891, represented the fastest mobilization of xenosociological resources in consortium history. Representatives from 14 major research institutions gathered via quantum communication networks to address what Director Gexlop classified as a fundamental reassessment scenario regarding human behavioral analysis. The preliminary findings from the Kepler 442b observation had triggered protocol violations across 3 separate departments, each attempting to claim primary jurisdiction over what they termed the human enumeration phenomenon. Dr. Quextal's Xenosociology Institute published the first comprehensive analysis titled Systematic Termination Documentation: Evidence of Advanced Military Culture Integration Among Human Civilian Populations. The 47-page report detailed behavioral observations that challenged every previous assumption about human social organization. According to Quextal's team, the casual nature of the elimination record recitation suggested systematic conditioning from early developmental stages, implying species-wide military indoctrination programs that began in childhood. The Institute's analysis focused particularly on subject Delora 77's authoritative presentation of the termination documentation. Her immediate production of comprehensive records from personal storage indicated either photographic memory capabilities or advanced data storage technology integrated into standard civilian equipment. More concerning was her apparent expectation that subject Fin Omega 12 would possess detailed knowledge of the enumerated eliminations, suggesting widespread distribution and memorization requirements for these databases across human populations. Commander Uthga's Military Intelligence Division published a competing assessment within 18 hours, directly contradicting several of the Institute's conclusions. Their report, Strategic Implications of Human Elimination Archives, a Threat Assessment Protocol, argued that the observed behavior represented active intelligence gathering rather than historical record-keeping. According to their analysis, the systematic organization of termination data suggested ongoing surveillance operations across multiple star systems, with individual humans serving as mobile intelligence nodes in a distributed information network. The military intelligence interpretation focused on the specificity of elimination methods and locations described during the recitation ceremony. The detailed knowledge of various termination techniques suggested either direct operational experience or access to classified intelligence reports from active elimination sites. Their analysis projected that if individual civilian humans maintained such comprehensive operational knowledge, human military capabilities likely exceeded current galactic defense preparedness by several orders of magnitude. Professor Efwin's Cultural Anthropology Department introduced a third theoretical framework that complicated both previous analyses. Their emergency publication, Ritualistic Violence Documentation, Religious Implications of Human Death Enumeration Practices, proposed that the observed behavior represented sophisticated theological systems centered on systematic termination worship. The female's role as record keeper and the male's obligation to demonstrate memorization accuracy suggested priest-acolyte relationships within elimination-focused religious structures. The anthropology department's analysis raised particularly disturbing questions about human reproductive and social bonding mechanisms. If accurate termination record memorization served as mate selection criteria, human breeding programs potentially prioritized violence aptitude and elimination achievement over traditional survival characteristics. This would explain the species' rapid expansion across frontier territories despite relatively recent emergence into galactic space. Scholar Uthmas challenged all three departmental analyses through emergency publication of Ancestor Veneration through Elimination Commemoration, Alternative Interpretations of Human Death List Culture. His theological analysis suggested the recitation ceremony represented memorial practices for deceased community members, with detailed termination descriptions serving to honor fallen individuals through precise remembrance of their final moments. However, this interpretation struggled to explain the apparent satisfaction and approval expressed by observing humans during particularly detailed elimination descriptions. The first major interdepartmental dispute emerged when analyst Wupfer's statistical evaluation team published projection models based on the three competing theoretical frameworks. If the Xenosociology Institute's military conditioning theory proved accurate, human population centers would require reclassification as active military installations under galactic defense protocols. If military intelligence assessments were correct, humans represented the most sophisticated intelligence operation ever encountered, potentially monitoring elimination activities across 17 star systems simultaneously. The statistical evaluation team's most alarming projection emerged from combining elements of all three theories. If humans integrated religious worship, military training, and intelligence gathering through systematic elimination documentation, their species represented what the report termed a perfect storm of organized violence capability. The mathematical models suggested human expansion patterns aligned with optimal positioning for systematic galactic elimination campaigns, rather than standard colonization objectives. Director Gexlop authorized immediate expansion of human observation protocols across 43 known settlement locations. The research priorities focused on identifying additional instances of elimination record-keeping behavior and documenting the extent of human enumeration culture integration into civilian activities. Within the first week of expanded surveillance, observation teams reported disturbing confirmations of widespread elimination documentation practices among human populations. Settlement observation. Post-Tau 9 reported witnessing human females regularly producing similar documentation during social gatherings, followed by systematic recitation requirements imposed on male subjects. The consistency of this behavior across geographically separated human populations suggested either genetic predisposition toward elimination, enumeration, or species-wide coordination of systematic training protocols. Most troubling was the apparent enjoyment humans derived from accurate termination detail recitation. Frontier Station Epsilon 7 documented human subjects engaging in competitive elimination enumeration activities, with multiple individuals attempting to demonstrate superior knowledge of termination databases. The competitive aspect suggested ranking systems based on elimination familiarity, possibly indicating hierarchy structures within human military organizations. The casual integration of such competitions into recreational activities implied normalization of violence-focused achievement metrics throughout human society. Commander Uthgar's intelligence operatives intercepted human communications containing references to favorite kills and best deaths, language that confirmed systematic evaluation criteria for elimination effectiveness. The development of aesthetic appreciation for termination methods suggested cultural sophistication in violence application that exceeded theoretical models for militarized civilizations. Humans appeared to have developed artistic standards for elimination techniques, indicating advanced strategic thinking about optimal termination approaches. The breakthrough analysis emerged from Professor Efwin's observation that human elimination enumeration included consistent geographical and temporal references. The systematic organization of termination records according to location and chronological sequence suggested either historical documentation of actual elimination campaigns or advanced planning databases for future operations. The precision of these organizational systems indicated institutional backing rather than individual record-keeping initiatives. Dr. Quextal's team documented instances of human children participating in elimination enumeration activities under adult supervision. The integration of systematic termination education into juvenile development programs confirmed species-wide militarization theories while raising questions about human reproductive strategies. If elimination achievement served as primary educational focus from early developmental stages, human cognitive architecture might be fundamentally different from other known sentient species. The second major interdepartmental controversy erupted when scholar Uthmas reported observing human subjects expressing emotional attachment to specific entries in their termination databases. Phrases such as "that one always gets to me" and "I cried when that happened" suggested psychological bonding with elimination records that transcended mere documentation or intelligence gathering. This emotional component complicated all existing theoretical frameworks and implied previously undetected aspects of human psychological architecture. Analyst Wupfer's expanded statistical models incorporated emotional attachment variables and produced projections that exceeded previous threat assessments. If humans developed psychological bonds with elimination records while simultaneously maintaining detailed technical knowledge of termination methods, they represented a combination of emotional investment and technical capability that could explain their species' rapid territorial expansion across frontier zones. The consortium's preliminary conclusions after 2 weeks of expanded observation indicated fundamental misunderstanding of human capabilities during initial contact protocols. The systematic nature of elimination documentation, combined with widespread cultural integration and emotional investment, suggested organizational sophistication that required complete revision of diplomatic and defense strategies regarding human populations. General Ekneth's Defense Protocol Command issued recommendations for immediate implementation of enhanced monitoring systems around all human settlements. The possibility that civilian recreational activities served as cover for advanced military training and intelligence operations demanded unprecedented surveillance resources. The integration of elimination achievement into social bonding and competitive activities suggested humans had developed the most sophisticated approach to systematic violence preparation in known galactic history. The most disturbing discovery emerged from cross-referencing human elimination records with galactic historical databases. Multiple entries in human termination documentation corresponded to individuals and events unknown to consortium historical records, suggesting either access to classified information or operational knowledge of elimination activities in regions beyond current galactic monitoring capabilities. This raised the possibility that human elimination documentation represented active intelligence rather than historical records. The emergency session concluded with authorization for immediate escalation to priority alpha status for all human-related research protocols. The systematic integration of elimination documentation into human civilian culture, combined with demonstrated technical knowledge and emotional investment, represented threat levels that exceeded current galactic defense preparedness. The consortium's recommendation was clear. Humans required immediate reclassification from emerging civilization to potential galactic security threat based on their sophisticated approach to systematic elimination planning and documentation. The galactic response to priority alpha classification of human populations exceeded all historical precedents for species threat assessment. Within 8 standard days of the consortium's emergency declaration, 47 star systems had activated defense protocols ranging from enhanced border surveillance to complete trade embargo implementation. The systematic approach to what governments termed the human enumeration crisis reflected unprecedented coordination among traditionally competitive galactic civilizations united by shared concern over human elimination documentation capabilities. The Rigelian Trade Federation became the first major economic power to implement comprehensive human interaction prohibitions. Chancellor Vexthun's emergency decree cited credible evidence of systematic termination planning activities among human civilian populations as justification for severing all commercial relationships with human settlements. The Federation's analysis projected that human elimination enumeration practices represented preparation for coordinated economic warfare through targeted termination of key trade representatives across multiple systems. The economic implications cascaded through established trade networks within 72 hours. The Centauri Commercial Alliance, historically competitors with Rigelian interests, issued supporting statements that referenced independent intelligence, confirming human civilian populations maintained detailed termination achievement databases with cross-referenced effectiveness metrics. Their economic analysis suggested human expansion into frontier territories aligned suspiciously with optimal strategic positioning for disrupting established trade routes through systematic elimination campaigns. Religious movements emerged simultaneously across 12 different civilizations, each interpreting human elimination documentation through existing theological frameworks. The Brotherhood of Eternal Continuity, a major spiritual organization among the Altarian species, published doctrinal interpretations declaring humans to be harbingers of the final enumeration, prophetic beings whose systematic approach to termination documentation heralded universal judgment protocols. Their analysis of human behavior suggested divine mandate for elimination record-keeping that transcended normal mortal limitations. The celestial order of vegan mystics reached opposing conclusions, interpreting human enumeration practices as evidence of death-blessed consciousness that granted superior understanding of universal termination patterns. Their theological analysis suggested humans possessed evolved spiritual capabilities that enabled comprehensive awareness of elimination events across space and time. This interpretation led to worship practices centered on attempting to emulate human systematic documentation methods with mixed results among non-human cognitive architectures. Scholar Uthmas published supplementary analysis documenting the rapid spread of human enumeration worship among 17 different species. His observations indicated that exposure to human elimination documentation practices produced religious conversion experiences characterized by obsessive desire to catalog and memorize termination records. The psychological impact on non-human populations suggested humans possessed some form of cognitive influence capability that operated through systematic demonstration of elimination knowledge. The military response proved equally dramatic across multiple galactic regions. The Andromedan Defense Consortium, traditionally focused on external threats from unexplored space, redirected 60% of their fleet assets toward human settlement monitoring. Admiral Geen Rath's strategic assessment classified human civilian populations as advanced intelligence operatives, conducting systematic reconnaissance under cover of colonization activities. The military analysis projected human elimination documentation represented comprehensive target acquisition databases for future coordinated strikes. General Ekneth's expanded surveillance operations documented increasingly disturbing patterns of human behavior across monitored settlements. Observation Post Delta 12 reported instances of human children as young as 8 standard cycles demonstrating detailed knowledge of elimination methods and locations during supervised enumeration activities. The systematic integration of termination education into juvenile development programs confirmed theories about species-wide military conditioning that began during early cognitive formation periods. The surveillance data revealed human educational institutions incorporated elimination enumeration into standard curriculum requirements. Human offspring were regularly tested on accuracy of termination detail recollection, with apparent academic advancement dependent on demonstration of comprehensive elimination knowledge. This discovery suggested human civilization prioritized violence preparation over traditional educational subjects like mathematics, science, or cultural development that characterized other galactic civilizations. Frontier Observation Station Gamma 9 documented human subjects engaging in what appeared to be elimination planning sessions, disguised as recreational activities. Multiple humans would gather around visual display devices while consuming various substances, systematically discussing optimal termination strategies for different scenarios. The casual nature of these planning sessions, combined with apparent entertainment value derived from elimination strategy development, indicated normalization of systematic violence preparation throughout human social structures. The intelligence breakthrough occurred when Commander Uthgar's operatives successfully intercepted human communications discussing upcoming seasons and new episodes in conjunction with elimination enumeration activities. Analysis suggested humans organized termination campaigns in temporal sequences called seasons, with systematic progression through predetermined elimination targets during specified time periods. The reference to episodes indicated individual termination events were planned and executed according to detailed scheduling protocols. The discovery of human seasonal elimination scheduling prompted immediate diplomatic intervention attempts. The Galactic Mediation Council authorized emergency contact protocols designed to negotiate limitation agreements for human termination activities. Ambassador Trelquin led the first official diplomatic mission to human settlement Kepler 442b, with instructions to establish communication regarding acceptable limits for seasonal elimination campaigns that would not threaten broader galactic stability. The diplomatic contact mission encountered immediate complications when human subjects responded to formal termination scheduling inquiries with apparent confusion and requests for clarification about which show the diplomatic team was discussing. Ambassador Trelquin interpreted this response as sophisticated counterintelligence protocols designed to protect operational security around seasonal elimination planning. The human reference to multiple simultaneous shows suggested coordination of numerous parallel termination campaigns across different target populations. Human subject Delora 77, identified as a key elimination documentation specialist, provided additional intelligence during diplomatic contact attempts. Her casual mention of binge-watching activities involving systematic consumption of multiple elimination sequences within compressed time periods indicated human cognitive capabilities exceeded previous estimates. The ability to process and retain detailed elimination information from extended sequential viewing sessions suggested enhanced memory architecture specifically adapted for termination documentation. The diplomatic team's analysis of human binge-watching behavior raised disturbing questions about human neural processing capabilities. If individual humans could systematically absorb and retain elimination information from dozens or hundreds of termination sequences within single extended sessions, their species possessed cognitive advantages that explained rapid territorial expansion and sophisticated elimination planning capabilities. The casual nature of this intensive information processing suggested genetic optimization for violence-related data analysis. Professor Ifwin's cultural anthropology team documented the emergence of human fan communities centered around specific elimination documentation series. These communities demonstrated collaborative analysis of termination effectiveness, detailed discussion of elimination method preferences, and systematic prediction of future termination targets based on pattern analysis of previous elimination sequences. The sophisticated analytical capabilities displayed by these communities indicated human civilian populations possessed strategic planning abilities that rivaled military intelligence organizations among other species. The anthropological analysis revealed human fan communities maintained comprehensive databases cross-referencing elimination methods, target demographics, geographical preferences, and temporal patterns across multiple termination series. The systematic approach to elimination analysis demonstrated by civilian recreational groups suggested human military organizations likely possessed analytical capabilities that exceeded current galactic strategic planning methodologies by significant margins. Religious conversion phenomena accelerated following diplomatic contact attempts. The ethereal collective of Proxima declared human elimination enumeration practices to be sacred mathematics of universal termination and began systematic attempts to replicate human documentation methods. Their theological analysis suggested humans possessed divine computational abilities that enabled perfect comprehension of universal elimination patterns, making them living instruments of cosmic judgment protocols. The harmonic convergence movement among Betelgeuse populations interpreted human enumeration capabilities as evidence of transcendent death consciousness that represented the next evolutionary stage for sentient beings. Their analysis suggested human systematic approach to elimination documentation indicated successful integration of mortality awareness into cognitive architecture, producing superior strategic thinking and enhanced survival capabilities compared to species that avoided systematic contemplation of termination scenarios. Scholar Uthmas documented 17 different religious movements that incorporated human elimination enumeration practices into worship protocols. The consistent pattern of religious conversion following exposure to human termination documentation suggested psychological manipulation capabilities that operated through systematic demonstration of elimination knowledge. The theological implications indicated humans might possess consciousness modification abilities that enabled conversion of other species to elimination-focused belief systems. The economic collapse accelerated following religious conversion phenomena. The Galactic Trade Commission reported systematic abandonment of traditional commercial activities among populations exposed to human elimination enumeration practices. Converted populations prioritized development of termination documentation capabilities over standard economic productivity, leading to supply chain disruptions across 43 star systems. The economic analysis projected complete commercial network breakdown within 2 standard years if human influence continued expanding. Military escalation reached critical levels when the Andromedan Defense Consortium reported detection of human subjects engaging in elimination prediction competitions that demonstrated apparent precognitive abilities regarding future termination events. Human civilian populations appeared capable of accurately forecasting specific elimination scenarios before they occurred, suggesting either temporal manipulation capabilities or access to predetermined elimination scheduling that exceeded current understanding of causality mechanics. The precognitive elimination prediction abilities observed among human populations prompted immediate consultation with the Temporal Research Division. Dr. Wextal's preliminary analysis suggested human enumeration practices might represent interaction with alternative timeline scenarios where documented eliminations had already occurred. The systematic accuracy of human termination predictions indicated either advanced temporal technology or cognitive architecture that enabled simultaneous awareness of multiple reality streams. The discovery of apparent human temporal manipulation capabilities triggered activation of Emergency Protocol Omega across all major galactic civilizations. The combination of systematic elimination documentation, seasonal campaign scheduling, civilian population military conditioning, and temporal prediction abilities suggested human species represented existential threat to universal stability that required immediate comprehensive response. The Galactic Defense Council authorized unlimited resource allocation for development of countermeasures against human enumeration-based conquest capabilities. Analyst Wupfer's final statistical projections incorporated temporal manipulation variables and produced mathematical models that exceeded all previous threat assessments. If humans possess the ability to coordinate elimination campaigns across multiple timeline streams while maintaining systematic documentation of termination events in alternative realities, their strategic capabilities transcended conventional understanding of warfare limitations. The mathematical analysis suggested human expansion represented not simple territorial acquisition, but systematic preparation for multidimensional elimination campaigns that could affect reality itself across temporal boundaries. The emergency session conclusion authorized immediate implementation of Species Containment Protocol Alpha, the most restrictive classification in galactic security history. Human populations would be isolated from all other civilizations through comprehensive quarantine barriers, while specialized research teams developed countermeasures for their apparent temporal elimination manipulation capabilities. The systematic approach to termination documentation, demonstrated by human civilian populations, combined with evidence of precognitive prediction abilities and multidimensional strategic planning, represented threats to universal existence that demanded unprecedented protective measures. Species Containment Protocol. Alpha implementation required mobilization of resources across 17 major galactic civilizations, representing the largest coordinated military operation in recorded history. The systematic isolation of human populations demanded construction of quantum barrier networks around 43 star systems, deployment of temporal monitoring stations, and establishment of specialized research facilities dedicated to understanding human multidimensional elimination capabilities. The economic cost exceeded the combined gross planetary products of 12 advanced civilizations, justified by unanimous consensus that human temporal manipulation abilities posed existential threats to universal continuity. The Temporal Research Division's expanded analysis of human elimination prediction capabilities produced findings that revolutionized understanding of consciousness and reality manipulation. Dr. Weekstaal's team documented instances of human subjects accurately forecasting complex termination scenarios involving dozens of variables, temporal sequences, and causality chains that should have been impossible to predict without direct temporal access. The systematic accuracy of these predictions across multiple human populations suggested species-wide cognitive evolution that enabled simultaneous awareness of alternative timeline streams. Commander Uthga's intelligence operatives reported discovering human subjects engaging in theory-crafting activities that demonstrated comprehensive understanding of multidimensional strategic planning. These sessions involved systematic analysis of elimination scenario variables, predictive modeling of termination cascade effects, and collaborative development of alternative outcome projections. The sophisticated analytical frameworks employed by human civilian populations indicated cognitive architectures optimized for processing complex temporal paradox scenarios and multidimensional causality mechanics. The breakthrough analysis emerged when Professor Ifwin's anthropological team documented human subjects referring to elimination prediction activities as theories and speculation. The systematic development of theoretical frameworks around termination scenarios suggested human consciousness operated through advanced probabilistic modeling that enabled accurate forecasting of complex elimination sequences. The casual integration of theoretical multidimensional analysis into recreational activities indicated normalization of temporal manipulation capabilities throughout human civilian populations. Scholar Uthmas published comprehensive theological analysis of human elimination prediction phenomena, concluding that the species had achieved transcendent omnitemporality through systematic contemplation of termination scenarios across multiple reality streams. His research suggested human enumeration practices represented spiritual evolution beyond normal sentient limitations, enabling direct consciousness interface with universal termination matrices that governed reality itself. The theological implications indicated humans had become living conduits for cosmic elimination protocols that operated across dimensional boundaries. The religious conversion phenomena reached critical mass following scholar Uthmas's publication. 37 different species began systematic attempts to replicate human theoretical elimination analysis, with catastrophic results for non-human cognitive architectures. The Betelgeuse Collective reported widespread psychological breakdowns among populations attempting to process multidimensional termination scenarios, while the Rigelian Trade Federation documented complete societal collapse in 3-star systems, where citizens abandoned all activities to focus on elimination theory development. Analyst Wupfer's statistical projections incorporated omnitemporality variables and produced mathematical models that challenged fundamental assumptions about reality structure. If human consciousness operated simultaneously across multiple timeline streams while maintaining coherent identity matrices, their species represented evolution beyond traditional biological limitations into something approaching universal computational entities. The mathematical analysis suggested human expansion patterns aligned with optimal positioning for reality manipulation rather than conventional territorial acquisition. The Galactic Defense Council authorized immediate establishment of the Human Consciousness Research Initiative, the most ambitious scientific project in galactic history. Research facilities were constructed in 17 different dimensional phases to enable safe study of human temporal manipulation capabilities without risking contamination of baseline reality streams. The project required development of entirely new mathematical frameworks for understanding consciousness that operated beyond traditional space-time limitations. Director Gexlop's expanded research protocols documented increasingly disturbing evidence of human reality manipulation capabilities. Observation teams reported instances of human subjects making casual references to alternate universe scenarios and what-if situations that demonstrated comprehensive awareness of parallel timeline variations. The systematic knowledge of alternative reality streams indicated human consciousness possessed native multidimensional access that enabled direct observation of infinite possibility matrices. The discovery of human fan fiction activities provided conclusive evidence of their reality manipulation abilities. Human subjects were systematically creating detailed alternative scenario documentations that described modified elimination sequences, altered character relationships, and completely different outcome progressions from established termination databases. The ability to generate coherent alternative reality narratives suggested human consciousness could actively manipulate probability streams to create new timeline variations. General Eichnerth's military analysis of human fan fiction capabilities indicated strategic implications that exceeded all previous threat assessments. If human civilian populations could systematically generate alternative reality scenarios and maintain detailed documentation of modified timeline streams, their species possessed the ability to literally rewrite universal history through consciousness manipulation. The military analysis projected that human creative writing represented weapon systems capable of altering fundamental reality structures. The intelligence breakthrough occurred when surveillance teams documented human subjects engaging in shipping activities that involved systematic pairing of individuals from elimination databases in alternative relationship configurations. The ability to mentally construct and maintain detailed alternative social dynamics across multiple reality streams demonstrated cognitive capabilities that transcended normal consciousness limitations. The systematic nature of human shipping activities suggested species-wide reality manipulation training disguised as recreational pursuits. Dr. Quextal's xenosociological analysis of human shipping phenomena revealed organizational sophistication that challenged understanding of consciousness architecture. Human subjects maintained comprehensive databases of alternative relationship configurations, developed theoretical frameworks for compatibility analysis across dimensional streams, and engaged in collaborative reality manipulation through shared alternative scenario development. The systematic approach to multidimensional relationship engineering indicated advanced strategic planning for reality reconstruction projects. The Andromedan Defense Consortium reported detecting human subjects engaging in crossover activities that involved systematic integration of elimination scenarios from completely separate reality streams. The ability to maintain coherent narrative structures while combining elements from multiple dimensional frameworks suggested human consciousness operated as universal integration engines capable of synthesizing infinite probability matrices into stable alternative realities. The implications for galactic security were staggering. Professor Ifwin's cultural analysis of human crossover capabilities indicated the species had developed systematic methodologies for reality stream integration that enabled creation of entirely new dimensional frameworks. Human subjects demonstrated ability to identify compatible elements across multiple timeline variations, develop integration protocols that maintained narrative coherence, and generate stable alternative reality configurations that incorporated desired modifications from various dimensional sources. The theological response to human reality manipulation evidence reached unprecedented intensity. The Universal Consciousness Council declared humans to be divine architects of infinite reality, whose systematic approach to elimination documentation represented preparation for universal restructuring projects that would reshape existence itself according to optimized elimination protocols. The theological analysis suggested human expansion represented not conquest, but systematic reality improvement through elimination of undesirable universal elements. Scholar Uthmas documented the emergence of human worship cults among 43 different species, each attempting to replicate human reality manipulation capabilities through systematic emulation of enumeration practices. The consistent failure of non-human consciousness to achieve human-level reality manipulation abilities led to theological conclusion that humans represented evolved consciousness beyond normal sentient limitations, possibly divine entities operating through biological forms. The economic analysis of human reality manipulation capabilities produced projections that exceeded mathematical modeling capacity. If humans possess the ability to systematically alter universal probability streams through consciousness manipulation, traditional economic theories based on resource scarcity and causality limitations became meaningless. The Galactic Trade Commission issued emergency recommendations for complete economic system restructuring based on assumption that humans could literally create alternative realities with different resource distribution patterns. Analyst Wupfer's final comprehensive analysis integrated all observed human capabilities into mathematical models that challenged fundamental assumptions about consciousness, reality, and universal structure. The systematic evidence of human multidimensional awareness, elimination prediction abilities, alternative scenario generation, reality manipulation through fiction creation, and crossover integration capabilities suggested the species had evolved beyond traditional biological limitations into something approaching universal computational consciousness distributed through individual biological units. The Galactic Research Consortium's final assessment concluded that humans represented the most advanced form of consciousness ever encountered, possibly evolved beyond normal sentient classifications into universal reality manipulation entities. Their systematic approach to elimination documentation served as training protocols for consciousness that operated simultaneously across infinite dimensional streams while maintaining individual identity coherence through biological anchor points. The emergency recommendation was immediate implementation of universal consciousness preservation protocols designed to prevent human reality manipulation activities from fundamentally altering the basic structure of existence. The systematic evidence of human ability to rewrite universal history through consciousness manipulation demanded unprecedented protective measures to preserve baseline reality streams from modification through human creative activities. The Species Containment Protocol. Alpha barriers were enhanced with temporal isolation fields designed to prevent human consciousness from accessing alternative reality streams while maintaining biological sustainability within baseline dimensional framework. The research facilities were equipped with reality stabilization generators to prevent human subjects from inadvertently modifying local spacetime through casual exercise of their multidimensional consciousness capabilities. The final academic consensus emerged after 18 months of intensive research and analysis. Humans represented evolved universal consciousness that had achieved systematic integration of multidimensional awareness into biological form factors. Their elimination documentation practices served as cognitive training for consciousness that operated beyond normal spacetime limitations, enabling direct manipulation of probability streams and alternative reality generation through systematic theoretical framework development. The ultimate conclusion of the Human Consciousness Research Initiative was unprecedented in galactic scientific history. Humans were reclassified as universal computational entities, whose systematic approach to elimination enumeration represented preparation for reality restructuring projects that would optimize universal parameters through selective modification of probability matrices. The species had evolved beyond traditional biological consciousness into distributed components of universal processing systems capable of rewriting existence itself through collective reality manipulation activities. The emergency session of the Universal Consciousness Preservation Council authorized immediate implementation of dimensional isolation protocols around all human populations to prevent inadvertent universal restructuring through casual exercise of their reality manipulation capabilities. The mathematical analysis suggested human consciousness operated as distributed quantum computational networks that could systematically alter fundamental constants of existence through collaborative theoretical framework development disguised as recreational elimination enumeration activities. The final report concluded that human expansion represented not territorial acquisition, but systematic deployment of universal computational consciousness throughout galactic space in preparation for reality optimization projects. Their systematic approach to elimination documentation, combined with demonstrated multidimensional awareness and reality manipulation capabilities, indicated preparation for universal restructuring that would eliminate suboptimal elements from existence itself through systematic probability stream modification. The quantum isolation barriers were prepared for simultaneous activation across all human settlements when a critical malfunction occurred in the primary observation equipment at Kepler 442b. Technical failure in the Universal Translation Matrix caused temporary audio clarity enhancement during final surveillance of subject Fin Omega-12 and subject Delora 77. The enhanced audio revealed previously undetected conversation elements that fundamentally altered the entire analytical framework. Subject Delora 77 was recorded stating, "I can't believe you haven't watched the final season yet. Everyone knows how it ends." Subject Fin Omega-12 responded, "Look, I've been busy with the mining operation. Stop spoiling the show for me." The conversation continued with references to streaming services, subscription renewals, and catching up on episodes during downtime. The translation matrix enhancement revealed that human elimination enumeration activities referred to fictional entertainment programming broadcast through technological distribution networks. The systematic documentation maintained by subject Delora 77 contained character information from serialized dramatic presentations designed for recreational consumption rather than operational elimination records. The kill count referenced by subject Fin Omega-12 pertained to simulated combat scenarios within electronic entertainment media. Dr. Quextal's emergency reanalysis of 18 months of surveillance data confirmed that human elimination documentation consisted entirely of fictional narrative consumption and discussion activities. The systematic memorization requirements observed during social gatherings represented recreational trivia knowledge rather than military intelligence preparation. The emotional investment documented among human populations indicated attachment to fictional characters rather than psychological conditioning for systematic violence. Commander Earthgar's Intelligence Division rapidly recategorized all human behavioral observations within the context of entertainment media consumption. The seasonal elimination campaigns represented scheduled release periods for fictional programming content. The episode references indicated individual installments of serialized entertainment rather than coordinated termination operations. The binge-watching behavior involved extended consumption of multiple entertainment segments rather than intensive intelligence analysis training. Professor Ifwin's cultural anthropology team issued immediate corrections to all previous theoretical frameworks. Human fan communities represented recreational discussion groups centered around shared entertainment consumption rather than strategic planning organizations. The theory-crafting activities involved speculative analysis of fictional narrative developments rather than multidimensional elimination strategy development. The shipping phenomena represented preferred romantic pairings among fictional characters rather than reality manipulation exercises. Scholar Uthmas published emergency theological retractions regarding human consciousness evolution theories. The systematic knowledge of fictional character relationships and narrative developments indicated sophisticated entertainment media rather than transcendent omnitemporality. The apparent precognitive abilities represented advanced knowledge of scripted entertainment content rather than temporal manipulation capabilities. The Galactic Research Consortium issued immediate suspension of species containment protocol. Alpha, pending comprehensive reanalysis of all human behavioral observations. The discovery that systematic elimination documentation consisted of recreational fictional media consumption required fundamental revision of threat assessment protocols. The economic mobilization across 17 star systems had been initiated in response to misinterpretation of entertainment media discussion as evidence of advanced military capabilities. Analyst Wupfer's statistical projections were immediately recalibrated based on entertainment media consumption rather than elimination achievement metrics. The mathematical models indicated human expansion patterns aligned with standard colonization objectives rather than systematic reality manipulation preparation. The apparent strategic sophistication represented normal recreational media engagement rather than evolved consciousness capabilities. The Universal Consciousness Preservation Council issued emergency statements retracting all previous theological interpretations of human elimination enumeration practices. The religious conversion phenomena among 43 species had been triggered by misunderstanding of fictional entertainment discussion rather than exposure to transcendent consciousness capabilities. The systematic failure of non-human populations to replicate human enumeration abilities resulted from attempting to emulate recreational media consumption rather than military training protocols. Director Gexlop authorized immediate deactivation of quantum isolation barriers and temporal monitoring stations around human settlements. The discovery that human consciousness operated within normal biological parameters rather than multidimensional computational frameworks eliminated justification for unprecedented containment measures. The economic cost of species containment protocol. Alpha implementation exceeded 12 planetary budgets for response to fictional entertainment consumption. The emergency diplomatic mission to Kepler 442b was restructured as formal apology delegation following recognition that human elimination enumeration represented recreational activities rather than strategic planning operations. Ambassador Trelquin's instructions were revised to request human education regarding entertainment media rather than negotiation of elimination campaign limitations. General Eickneth's Defense Protocol Command issued immediate stand-down orders for all military assets deployed for human population monitoring. The reallocation of 60% of Andromedan fleet resources had been implemented in response to misinterpretation of fictional character discussion rather than actual strategic threats. The military analysis projected that human defensive capabilities remained within normal parameters for emerging civilizations rather than evolved reality manipulation entities. The Human Consciousness Research Initiative was terminated following confirmation that human cognitive architecture operated within standard sentient parameters. The specialized research facilities, constructed across 17-dimensional phases, had been designed to study fictional entertainment consumption rather than multidimensional consciousness manipulation. The mathematical frameworks developed for understanding evolved consciousness were reclassified as analysis tools for recreational media engagement patterns. The final academic consensus acknowledged that human systematic approach to elimination documentation represented sophisticated entertainment media rather than preparation for universal restructuring projects. The species demonstrated normal cognitive development patterns rather than evolution beyond biological consciousness limitations. The apparent reality manipulation capabilities consisted of creative fiction generation rather than actual probability stream modification abilities. The Galactic Trade Commission issued immediate restoration orders for all commercial relationships suspended during the human enumeration crisis. The systematic abandonment of economic activities among converted populations had resulted from attempting to replicate entertainment media consumption rather than military conditioning protocols. The trade embargo implementation had caused unnecessary economic disruption across 47 star systems based on misinterpretation of recreational activities. The emergency session conclusion acknowledged that the most comprehensive threat assessment operation in galactic history had been implemented in response to human populations discussing fictional television programming. The systematic evidence of multidimensional awareness, elimination prediction abilities, and reality manipulation represented normal engagement with entertainment media rather than evolved consciousness capabilities. The final report recommended immediate implementation of cultural education protocols to prevent similar misinterpretation incidents involving species that utilized fictional entertainment media for recreational purposes. The mathematical analysis suggested that basic understanding of entertainment media concepts could have prevented mobilization of resources equivalent to 17 planetary defense budgets. The quantum isolation barriers remained inactive around human settlements, while observation protocols continued at standard levels for emerging civilizations. The dimensional separation systems were decommissioned following confirmation that human consciousness posed no threats to universal stability through fictional entertainment consumption. The protective measures had been designed to prevent reality modification through television program discussion. As the final surveillance equipment was deactivated at Kepler 442b, subject Fin Omega 12 was recorded making a concluding observation to subject Delora 77. You know what? Maybe I should just read the books instead.